The young millionaire froze when she saw her childhood photo in the humble gardener's house. The September afternoon hung heavy over Langford Estate, the kind of weight that pressed down on your shoulders and made breathing feel like work. Harper Langford stepped out of her imported Mercedes, wearing a crisp white suit that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. Her designer sunglasses reflected the perfectly manicured gardens stretching out before her, every hedge trimmed to geometric precision, every flower bed arranged like a museum exhibit. She was 29 years old and had already made the cover of Forbes twice. Harper Langford. The name alone opened doors, closed deals, moved millions. But if you looked close enough, past the expensive clothes and the confident stride, you'd see something off in her eyes, a coldness, like someone had switched off a light inside her a long time ago and nobody knew how to turn it back on. "Miss Langford," a man's voice interrupted her thoughts. Harper barely glanced up from her phone. Some property developer was texting her about zoning permits, and she was already mentally calculating profit margins. "You, the groundskeeper?" she asked without looking at him. "Yes, ma'am. Thomas Mercer." He stood near the iron gate, holding a worn straw hat in both hands, mid-50s, maybe older. It was hard to tell with working men, their faces aged differently, like tree bark. His hands were rough and calloused, the kind of hands that had spent decades fighting with dirt and roots. His back curved slightly, shoulders rounded from years of bending over flower beds. But his eyes, there was something gentle about them. Sad, but gentle. "Show me around," Harper said flatly. "I've got 15 minutes. Thomas nodded and started walking. Harper followed, her heels clicking against the stone pathway. He talked as they moved through the gardens, his voice low and respectful, pointing out the roses, the century-old oak trees, the hand-carved fountain that some Italian sculptor had made back in the 1920s. Harper wasn't listening. She was already picturing it all torn down. Bulldozers, concrete, a luxury condo development with a name like Asheville Heights, or the Langford Collection, 20 units, minimum, 7 figures each. Easy money. "There's a small cottage back here," Thomas said, gesturing toward the far end of the property. "I've been living there for about 20 years, taking care of everything myself. You'll need to be out in 5 days," Harper replied without missing a beat. "Demolition starts next week." Something flickered across Thomas's face. Pain, maybe, or resignation, but he just nodded and looked down at his boots. That's when the wind picked up. It came out of nowhere, one of those sudden gusts that makes leaves scatter and doors slam. The cottage door swung open with a long, drawn-out creak that sounded like something out of a horror movie. Harper frowned. She hated loose ends, hated things that weren't buttoned up and controlled. "I'll close it," Thomas said quickly, moving toward the cottage. But Harper was already walking that direction, her irritation mounting. "I've got it." She reached the door before he could stop her and stepped inside. The cottage was exactly what you'd expect. Small, simple, almost depressing in its plainness. A narrow bed with a faded quilt, a wooden table that looked like it might have been around since the Civil War, an ancient stove that probably took half an hour just to heat up water for coffee. But then Harper's eyes landed on the wall above the nightstand, a photograph in a simple wooden frame. Her breath caught in her throat. It was a little girl, maybe 4 years old, with curly brown hair that fell past her shoulders. She wore a white dress covered in embroidered flowers, small pink and yellow ones that looked hand-stitched. In her arms, she clutched a blue teddy bear, the kind with button eyes and worn fur from too much loving. The girl was smiling at the camera, a huge, gap-toothed grin that lit up her whole face. Harper's phone slipped from her fingers and hit the wooden floor with a dull thud. That dress, that bear, that smile. She knew them. God help her. She knew them. Her hands started shaking. Her vision blurred at the edges. Somewhere in the back of her mind, a door she'd kept locked for 25 years rattled on its hinges. "Where did you get this?" she whispered. Thomas stood frozen in the doorway, his face drained of color. His knuckles were white where he gripped his hat. "Miss Langford, I can explain. Where did you get this picture?" The words came out as a scream. Harper spun around to face him, and she realized her cheeks were wet. When had she started crying? Thomas took a step back, his legs unsteady. He reached out to brace himself against the doorframe, breathing hard like he'd just run a marathon. "Please," he said, his voice breaking. "Please, just sit down. I'll tell you everything." "I'm not sitting down." Harper's voice shook with fury and something else, something that felt like terror. "Tell me where you got that picture. Tell me right now." Thomas looked at her for a long moment. Then his eyes filled with tears, and when he spoke, his voice came out barely above a whisper. "That little girl," he said. "That's my daughter, my Mia. She disappeared 25 years ago." The room tilted. Harper grabbed the edge of the table to steady herself. Her heart was hammering so hard she thought it might crack her ribs. "You're lying," she said, but even she could hear how weak it sounded. Thomas shook his head slowly. "I was married to a woman named Faith, sweetest person you'd ever meet. We lived in a little town near Silver Creek, Colorado. I worked the fields. She did seamstress work from home. We didn't have much, but we had each other. And we had Maya." He wiped at his face with the back of his hand, smearing dirt across his cheek. "She was 4 years old when it happened. Faith took her to the market one afternoon. I stayed behind to finish up in the fields. When I came home that evening," his voice cracked, "the house was empty. No note, no sign of struggle. Just silence. Harper couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't think. I looked for them everywhere." Thomas continued. "Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. I went to the police, drove through every town within 200 miles, put up flyers, begged strangers for help. Nothing. Faith was gone. Mia was gone. This picture is the only thing I have left of her." Harper stared at the photograph, at the little girl with the embroidered dress and the blue bear. She remembered that dress. Not like a memory exactly, more like a feeling, something buried so deep it hurt to touch. She remembered a woman's voice singing softly, the smell of fresh bread baking, running barefoot through tall grass, strong hands lifting her onto someone's shoulders while she laughed and laughed. "No," Harper whispered, but she didn't sound convincing, even to herself. She was Harper Langford, daughter of Raymond Langford and Evelyn Cross. She'd grown up in mansions, gone to private schools, inherited fortunes, but she'd never felt loved. Evelyn had always treated her like a prized possession, something valuable to maintain but never truly care for. Raymond never looked her in the eye, and whenever Harper asked about her early childhood, the answers were always vague, dismissive. "You were a quiet child. You don't remember because you were so young." But Harper did remember in pieces, in fragments that didn't quite fit. She looked at Thomas, really looked at him, at his weathered face and gentle eyes, at his calloused hands and rounded shoulders, and something inside her recognized him. "I need proof," she said, her voice trembling. "I need real proof." Thomas nodded quickly. "A DNA test, please. I'm begging you." Harper picked up her phone from the floor with shaking hands. She didn't say another word, just turned and walked out of the cottage, her expensive heels crunching on the gravel path. Behind her, Thomas Mercer stood in the doorway of his small home, watching the woman who might be his daughter disappear into the fading afternoon light. Harper didn't sleep that night, or the next, or the one after that. She canceled 3 board meetings, ignored 47 phone calls, and spent most of her time sitting in her home office staring at her laptop screen without actually seeing anything on it. Her assistant kept asking if she was feeling okay. Harper told her she had the flu and needed a few days. It wasn't the flu. It was the photograph. That little girl's face burned into her mind like someone had pressed a hot brand against her brain. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw it. The embroidered dress, the blue teddy bear, that smile. That was me. A voice whispered in the back of her head. That was me, and I don't remember. On the second day, Harper made 2 phone calls. The first was to a private DNA testing lab in Charlotte. She used a fake name and paid extra for rush processing and complete discretion. The technician asked no questions. Rich people paying for secret paternity tests wasn't exactly uncommon. The second call went to Marcus Webb, a private investigator she'd used once before when a business partner was suspected of embezzlement. Marcus was expensive, thorough, and most importantly, he kept his mouth shut. "I need you to dig up everything you can find on a man named Thomas Mercer," Harper said. Birth records, employment history, marriage certificates, police reports, everything. Sure thing, Miss Langford. What's the timeline? Yesterday, Marcus chuckled. I'll have something for you by tomorrow evening. Harper hung up and stared at her reflection in the window. She looked like hell. Dark circles under her eyes, hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. She was still wearing the same sweatpants she'd put on 2 days ago. Get it together, she told herself. It's probably nothing, some weird coincidence. Maybe you just looked like his daughter when you were little. But she didn't believe that, not even a little bit. The DNA test required a sample from Thomas, which meant Harper had to go back to the estate. She drove there on the 3rd day, her hands gripping the steering wheel so tight her knuckles ached. Thomas was working in the rose garden when she arrived. He looked up as her car pulled in, and something hopeful flickered across his face before he quickly buried it. Miss Langford, I need a DNA sample, Harper said without preamble. She held up the testing kit. Cheek swab, takes 2 seconds. Thomas set down his pruning shears immediately. Of course, whatever you need. She walked over, opened the kit, and swabbed the inside of his cheek. He stood perfectly still the whole time, watching her with those sad, gentle eyes. Results should be back in a week, Harper said, sealing the sample in its container. Thank you. Thomas's voice was thick with emotion. I know this must be. I can't imagine what you're going through. Harper didn't respond. She started to walk back to her car, then stopped. Tell me about her, she said quietly. About Mia. Thomas's whole face changed, like someone had turned on a light behind his eyes. She loved to sing, he said softly. Made up her own songs about butterflies and rain clouds. Faith used to say Mia could find music in everything. The creek, the wind, even the sound of the washing machine. He smiled at the memory. Her favorite food was pancakes with strawberries. She'd eat them for every meal if we let her. Harper felt something twist in her chest. Strawberry pancakes. She still ordered them sometimes at diners, even though she couldn't explain why they made her feel safe. She used to run around barefoot all summer long. Thomas continued. Hated shoes. Said they made her feet feel trapped. And she had this laugh. God, her laugh could light up a whole room. Harper's throat felt tight. What else? She called me Papa Bear, because I'd give her rides on my shoulders, and she said it felt like riding a bear through the forest. His voice cracked. Faith made that blue teddy for her when she was 2. Mia took it everywhere, slept with it every night. Harper remembered strong hands lifting her up. Remembered the world looking different from way up high. Remembered feeling safe and loved, and completely, utterly happy. I have to go, she said abruptly. She was in her car and halfway down the drive before the tears started falling. Marcus Webb's report arrived the next evening via encrypted email. Harper poured herself a glass of wine she didn't drink and opened the file. Subject: Thomas James Mercer Dobb, April 3rd, 1973. Place of birth: Silver Creek, Colorado. She scrolled through the basics. High school diploma, worked various manual labor jobs, married Faith Elizabeth Morrison on June 12th, 1998. Then she found the police report. Date filed, March 17th, 2000, case number, SC 2000 R0847 type. Missing person status, open, inactive report filed by Thomas James Mercer regarding the disappearance of his wife, Faith Elizabeth Mercer, age 26, and daughter, Maya Rose Mercer, age 4. Subjects were last seen at Silver Creek Market on March 15, 2000, at approximately 2:30 p.m. No witnesses to disappearance, no signs of struggle at residence, no ransom demands received, no bodies recovered. Case archived due to lack of leads as of November 2000. Harper's hands trembled as she kept reading. There were photos attached, grainy copies from the original missing persons flyers. Faith Mercer had been beautiful. Dark hair, warm smile, kind eyes. She looked like the type of woman who baked cookies for neighbors and volunteered at church fundraisers. And Mia, 4 years old, curly brown hair, that same smile from the photograph. Harper clicked to the next document. It was a timeline Marcus had compiled from public records. March 15th, 2000. Faith and Mia Mercer disappear. March 17th, 2000. Thomas Mercer files police report. March-November 2000. Extensive search yields no results. Case goes cold. Then, At the bottom of the timeline, Marcus had added something else. He'd highlighted it in red. October 12, 2000. Evelyn Cross makes first public appearance with newly adopted daughter. Harper Cross, age 4. Multiple society page photographs from charity gala in Asheville, NC. Harper stared at the date. 7 months after Mia Mercer vanished. She opened a new browser tab and started searching. It didn't take long to find what she was looking for. Or rather, what she wasn't finding. There were no adoption records. None. She checked county databases, state records, even federal adoption registries. Nothing. Evelyn Cross had simply appeared one day with a 4-year-old daughter named Harper, and apparently nobody had thought to ask questions. Rich people adopted kids all the time, right? And the Crosses had money. Lots of it. The kind of money that made people look the other way. Harper picked up her phone and called Marcus. "Did you find anything about my adoption?" she asked when he answered. "That's the weird thing, Miss Langford. I couldn't find any legal documentation, no court records, no agency paperwork, nothing. It's like it never officially happened." Harper's blood ran cold. "What about my birth certificate? Standard issue. Lists Raymond Langford and Evelyn Cross as parents, but..." Marcus hesitated. "These things can be falsified if you've got the right connections. And your parents definitely had connections." Harper thanked him and hung up. She sat there in her office, surrounded by expensive furniture and abstract art that cost more than most people's cars, and felt the entire foundation of her life crumbling beneath her. She wasn't Harper Langford. She was Mia Mercer, and her real father had spent the last 25 years looking for her while she lived in a mansion less than 200 miles away. The DNA results came back 6 days later. Harper opened the envelope alone in her car, hands shaking so badly she almost tore the paper. DNA match probability, 99.9% conclusion. Thomas James Mercer is the biological father of Harper Langford. Harper pressed her forehead against the steering wheel and sobbed. Great, heaving sobs that came from somewhere deep inside, from that locked door in the back of her mind that had finally burst open. She cried for the childhood that had been stolen, for the mother she'd never known, for the father who'd searched and suffered while she'd been dressed up like a doll and paraded around at charity galas. She cried for the little girl in the photograph who'd loved pancakes and singing and running barefoot through summer grass. That little girl was her, had always been her, and someone had taken her away. Harper sat in her car outside the Langford Estate for 20 minutes, staring at the DNA results until the words blurred together. 99.9%. There was no margin for error, no room for doubt. Thomas Mercer was her biological father. She finally drove to the property where Thomas worked, her mind cycling through 1,000 fragmented memories that suddenly made sense. All those times she'd felt like an outsider in her own home. All those awkward family photos where Evelyn smiled with her mouth but not her eyes. All those questions about her early childhood that had been deflected or dismissed. "You were such a quiet baby, Harper. You barely made a sound." But that wasn't true, was it? Mia had loved to sing, had made up songs about butterflies and rain clouds. You didn't like playing outside much. Another lie. Mia had run barefoot through fields all summer long. Everything Harper thought she knew about herself was fiction, a story Evelyn had written and forced her to memorize. Thomas was pruning the hedges when she found him. He looked up at the sound of her footsteps, and she saw the question in his eyes before he could hide it. Harper held up the paper. Her hand was shaking. 99.9%, she said. Her voice came out rough, like she'd been screaming for hours. Thomas's pruning shears fell to the ground. His face went through about 6 different emotions in the span of 3 seconds. Shock, hope, joy, disbelief, and something that looked like relief so profound it was almost painful to witness. "You're sure?" he whispered. "That's as sure as it gets." For a moment, neither of them moved. They just stood there in the garden, surrounded by perfectly manicured roses and the smell of fresh-cut grass, while the world rearranged itself around them. Then Thomas took a step forward, stopped, and looked at her like he was afraid she might disappear if he moved too fast. "Can I?" he gestured helplessly, and Harper understood what he was asking. She nodded. Thomas closed the distance between them and wrapped his arms around her. He smelled like soil and sweat, and something else, something that felt achingly familiar. Harper stood rigid for a second. Every muscle in her body tensed. And then something inside her just broke. She buried her face in his shoulder and cried. Not the careful, controlled tears she'd shed in her car, but the kind of crying that comes from your bones, the kind that shakes your whole body and makes sounds you didn't know you could make. Thomas held her tighter, one hand on her back, the other cradling her head like she was still 4 years old and small enough to protect. "I'm sorry," he kept saying. "I'm so sorry, baby girl. I looked everywhere. I never stopped looking. I'm so sorry." "It's not your fault," Harper choked out between sobs. "It's not your fault." They stayed like that for a long time. Eventually, Harper's tears dried up and left her feeling hollowed out, but somehow lighter, like she'd been carrying a weight she didn't know about until it was gone. Thomas pulled back, wiping his own eyes with the back of his hand. "Do you remember anything? About before?" Harper nodded slowly. "Pieces. I remember a woman singing. I remember the smell of bread baking and pancakes with strawberries." She looked up at him. "You used to put me on your shoulders." Thomas's face crumpled. "You called me Papa Bear." "Papa Bear," Harper repeated, and the words felt right in her mouth, like coming home after a long trip. "I remember that. I remember. God, I remember being happy." She sat down on the garden bench, suddenly exhausted. Thomas sat beside her, close but not touching, like he was afraid of overstepping. "Tell me what happened," Harper said. "The day we disappeared. I need to know." Thomas took a deep breath. March 15th, 2000. It was a Tuesday. Faith was making beef stew for dinner. Your favorite. She needed to pick up a few things from the market in town, and you wanted to go with her. You loved going to the market because Mrs. Chen, who ran the vegetable stand, always gave you candy. He stared at his hands as he talked, like he was reading the story off his palms. "I stayed behind to finish plowing the north field. We needed to get the spring planting done. Faith said she'd be back by 4. His voice got quieter. "She never came back." "What did you do?" "At first I figured maybe the truck broke down or they'd stopped at a friend's house. But when it got dark, I started calling around. Nobody had seen them. I drove into town and found the truck parked outside the market. Everything was still inside. Her purse, the groceries, your blue teddy bear on the front seat." Harper's chest tightened. "What did the police say?" "They filed a report, put out an Amber Alert, searched for weeks. They interviewed everyone who'd been at the market that day, checked security cameras from nearby businesses, dragged the creek." Thomas's hands clenched into fists. "Nothing. It was like you both just vanished into thin air. And my mother, Faith," Harper could barely say the name. "What happened to her?" "I don't know." The pain in Thomas's voice was raw, even after 25 years. "The police never found any evidence of violence. No blood, no signs of a struggle. But they never found her either. Some detectives thought maybe she'd run off, started a new life somewhere. But Faith wouldn't do that. She loved you more than anything in the world. She'd never have left you." Harper's mind was racing. "So someone took us, both of us." "That's what I believed, what I still believe." Thomas finally looked at her. "And somehow you ended up with the Langfords 7 months later." The implication hung between them like smoke. "Evelyn?" Harper said flatly. "Evelyn did this." Thomas didn't contradict her. "You need to be careful, Mia, if she's capable of—" "Harper," she interrupted. "I'm Harper now. I've been Harper for 25 years. I can't just—" She trailed off, frustrated. "I understand." Thomas's voice was gentle. "You're whoever you need to be." They sat in silence for a while. A cardinal landed in the rose bush nearby, its red feathers bright against the green leaves. Harper watched it, thinking about identity and memory, and all the ways a person could be stolen from themselves. "I remember more now," she said quietly. "The memories are coming back. Little things. The sound of Faith's voice when she sang me to sleep. The way our kitchen smelled in the morning. A tire swing in the backyard. We hung that swing the summer before," Thomas said, his voice thick. "You'd spend hours on it." Harper turned to look at him. Really look at him. This man with his calloused hands and weathered face and eyes full of grief he'd carried for a quarter of a century. Her father. Her real father. "We're going to prove it," she said. "What Evelyn did, we're going to prove it and make her pay." Thomas shook his head. Mia, Harper. She's powerful. She's got money and lawyers and... So do I. Harper's voice turned cold. I'm not that little girl anymore. I'm not helpless, and I'm sure as hell not going to let her get away with this. She stood up, pulling out her phone. I need to make some calls. Can I come back tomorrow? There's a lot I want to ask you. About Faith. About who I was. You can come back anytime. Thomas stood too and hesitated. For what it's worth, I can see her in you. Your mother. You've got her fire. Harper felt tears prick her eyes again, but she blinked them back. Tomorrow, she repeated. She made it to her car before the weight of everything hit her again. She'd found her father, but she'd also discovered that the woman who raised her, the woman she'd spent 29 years calling mother, was a kidnapper, possibly a murderer, and Harper had no idea how deep the lies went. Harper drove straight to the Langford Estate, not to the gardens or the guest house where she usually stayed during visits, but to the main residence, the sprawling colonial mansion where Evelyn held court like some kind of corporate queen. It was 8:30 in the evening. Evelyn would be in the east sitting room, like she was every night at this hour, drinking her Chateau Margaux and reading whatever business journal had arrived that day. The woman was nothing if not predictable. Harper didn't bother knocking. She used her key, walked through the marble foyer with its crystal chandelier and pretentious oil paintings, and pushed open the door to the sitting room. Evelyn looked up from her wine glass, one perfectly sculpted eyebrow rising a fraction of an inch. She was 53, but could pass for 45, thanks to a small fortune spent on skincare and a surgeon in Manhattan who knew how to be discreet. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a sleek chignon. She wore cream-colored slacks and a silk blouse that probably cost more than Thomas made in a month. Harper, I wasn't expecting you. Evelyn's voice was cool, controlled, always controlled. You look terrible, darling. Are you ill? Harper didn't answer. She crossed the room and threw the DNA test results onto the coffee table, the papers scattered across the polished mahogany surface, some sliding onto the Persian rug. Evelyn glanced down at them, then back up at Harper. Her expression didn't change, not even a flicker. I see, she said calmly. She took a sip of her wine. That's it. Harper's voice was shaking. That's all you've got to say. I see. What would you like me to say? Evelyn set down her glass with precise, measured movements. That I'm shocked, surprised. I'm neither. The casual admission hit Harper like a slap. You knew. Of course I knew. Evelyn picked up one of the papers, scanned it briefly, then let it fall back to the table. I've always known who you are, Harper. Or should I say Mia? Harper felt her knees go weak. She grabbed the back of a chair to steady herself. You kidnapped me. Don't be dramatic. I acquired you. Evelyn reached for her wine again. There's a difference. What the hell is wrong with you? Harper's voice rose to a shout. You stole me from my family. She couldn't even finish the sentence. Evelyn sighed, like Harper was being unreasonable about something minor. Raymond and I couldn't have children. We tried for years. Fertility treatments, specialists, the works. Nothing worked. And I needed an heir. The Langford name needed continuity. So you bought one. I tried adoption first, Evelyn said, as if this made her actions reasonable. But the process was absurd. Background checks, home visits, waiting lists that stretched for years. And even then, you'd end up with some drug addict's baby who might have God knows what genetic issues. She waved her hand dismissively. I needed better options. Harper stared at her in horror. So you found Faith. You found my mother. I found a poor woman with a beautiful, healthy child she couldn't properly provide for. Evelyn leaned back in her chair, completely at ease. I approached her at that market in Silver Creek, offered her money, a lot of money, enough to change her life. And she said no. She said no, Evelyn confirmed. Very foolishly. She had some ridiculous notion about love being more important than security, as if love pays for food or education or health care. Harper's hands were clenched so tight her nails cut into her palms. What did you do to her? Evelyn took another sip of wine, letting the question hang in the air for a moment. I solved a problem. Did you kill her? The words came out barely above a whisper. I had her removed. Evelyn's tone was the same one she used when discussing quarterly earnings or stock portfolios. She was an obstacle, Obstacles get removed. That's how the world works, Harper. Harper's vision swam. She thought she might throw up. You murdered my mother. I eliminated a complication. Evelyn set down her glass and looked at Harper with something almost like pity. You're being emotional. It clouds judgment. Faith Mercer was nobody, a seamstress in a nothing town with no prospects and no future. I gave you everything, education, wealth, opportunities she never could have provided. You should be grateful. Grateful? Harper could barely breathe. You destroyed my family. I created your family, Evelyn corrected. You're Harper Langford. You've been Harper Langford for 25 years. That's your identity, that's your life. Some sad little story about a poor girl from Colorado doesn't change that. Harper grabbed the edge of the table. Thomas is my father. Thomas Mercer is a groundskeeper. Evelyn's voice hardened. A nobody who digs in dirt for a living. Raymond Langford is your father. He raised you, educated you, gave you a name that opens doors. Blood doesn't make family. Harper, power does. Did Raymond know? Harper's voice cracked. Did he know what you did? For the first time, something shifted in Evelyn's expression. Raymond is weak. He asked questions once or twice in the beginning, but I told him the adoption was handled through private channels. He believed it because he wanted to believe it. He was desperate for a child. So he had no idea you kidnapped me. He had plausible deniability, Evelyn said, which is the same thing. Harper pushed away from the table, pacing now, her mind racing. I'm going to the police. I'm going to tell them everything. Evelyn laughed. Actually laughed. With what evidence, darling? A DNA test. That only proves Thomas Mercer is your biological father. It doesn't prove anything else. You just confessed. To you. In private, your word against mine. Evelyn stood up, smoothing her slacks. And who do you think they'll believe, Harper Langford? A privileged young woman who's clearly having some kind of breakdown. Or Evelyn Cross Langford, a respected businesswoman and philanthropist with spotless reputation. Harper felt panic rising in her chest. There has to be evidence. Paper trails, witnesses, all gone, Evelyn said simply. Burned, buried, or bought off 25 years ago. I'm very thorough, Harper. It's one of my best qualities. Someone will talk. Someone always talks. Not when they're properly motivated. Evelyn picked up her wine glass again. Or properly silenced. Harper stared at this woman, this monster, who'd raised her, who'd brushed her hair and taken her to dance recitals, and smiled for family photos while hiding a secret so dark it was almost incomprehensible. I will destroy you, Harper said quietly. I don't care how long it takes or what it costs. I will make sure everyone knows what you did. Evelyn's smile was thin and cold. You're welcome to try, sweetheart. But think carefully about what you're risking. Your reputation, your position, your future, all of it will burn if you go down this path. I don't care. You say that now. Evelyn moved toward the door, pausing beside Harper. But you will. Because at the end of the day, you're more like me than you want to admit. You've spent 29 years being Harper Langford. You've enjoyed the benefits, the privileges, the power. That doesn't just go away because you found out where you came from. She reached out and straightened Harper's collar, a maternal gesture that made Harper's skin crawl. You're my daughter, Evelyn said softly. My greatest achievement. I made you into something extraordinary. And deep down, you know that matters more than some sentimental fantasy about the life you might have had. Harper jerked away from her touch. Get away from me. Evelyn shrugged and headed for the door. When you're ready to be reasonable, we'll talk. Until then, I suggest you think very carefully about your next move, because if you try to expose me, you'll be exposing yourself too. And Harper Langford won't survive that kind of scandal. She left, her heels clicking against the marble floor. Harper stood alone in the sitting room, surrounded by expensive furniture and priceless art, and felt more trapped than she'd ever felt in her life. Harper hired the best attorney in North Carolina. Kenneth Morrison had a corner office in Charlotte with floor-to-ceiling windows and a reputation for winning impossible cases. He charged $800 an hour and was worth every penny. He listened to Harper's story, reviewed the DNA evidence, and took notes on a legal pad with gold trim. It's compelling, he said when she finished, but it's also complicated. Complicated how? Harper leaned forward in her chair. She admitted it. She kidnapped me and murdered my mother. She admitted it to you. In private, with no witnesses or recording. Morrison tapped his pen against the desk. That's hearsay. Inadmissible in court. So we get other evidence. What other evidence? Morrison's expression was sympathetic but realistic. This happened 25 years ago. The original case went cold. Any physical evidence is long gone. Witnesses may be dead, disappeared, or have faulty memories. Harper felt frustration building in her chest. There has to be something. Morrison flipped through his notes. We can pursue a civil case. Sue for damages related to the kidnapping, emotional distress, loss of relationship with your biological father but proving criminal activity. He shook his head. That's the DA's job, and they won't touch this without solid evidence. What about the missing adoption records? Circumstantial. Could be explained away as clerical errors or lost paperwork. Happens more than you'd think, especially with private adoptions from that era. Harper stood up and walked to the window. Charlotte's skyline stretched out before her, all glass and steel and money. So she just gets away with it. I didn't say that. Morrison set down his pen. But you need to understand what you're up against. Evelyn Cross Langford has resources, connections. She's been in this world longer than you have, and she knows how to protect herself. I have resources too. You do, but she has something more valuable. Time to cover her tracks. Morrison leaned back in his chair. My advice, focus on what you can prove. Establish your biological identity. Pursue reconnection with your father. Maybe look into wrongful adoption claims. Criminal charges are a long shot. Harper hired Morrison anyway, along with 3 more attorneys from different firms. She wanted multiple angles, multiple strategies. Someone had to find a crack in Evelyn's armor. The answer from all of them was essentially the same. Not enough evidence. Then the press started. The first article appeared in the Asheville Citizen-Times 3 days after Harper met with Morrison. The headline read, Langford heiress hospitalized for exhaustion. The story claimed Harper had suffered a breakdown, was receiving psychiatric treatment, and had been deemed temporarily unfit to manage her business affairs. None of it was true. The second article came from a Charlotte business journal. Sources close to Harper Langford expressed concern over erratic behavior. It quoted anonymous insiders saying she'd been making wild accusations, missing meetings, and showing signs of mental instability. The third was in the society pages. Langford family rallies around troubled daughter. It featured quotes from Evelyn about how heartbroken she was, how they were getting Harper the help she needs. Harper watched her reputation crumble in real time. Clients started canceling meetings. Business partners became suddenly unavailable. Board members at companies where she held positions began asking gentle questions about whether she might want to take some time off. Evelyn was destroying her, systematically and efficiently, using the same tools Harper had once wielded herself: public perception, whisper campaigns, strategic media placement. Harper tried to fight back, but every attorney she contacted either couldn't take the case due to conflicts of interest, or quoted fees that were suddenly triple their normal rates. Journalists who'd once been friendly stopped returning her calls. The message was clear. Evelyn's reach was longer than Harper had realized. Thomas called her on the 4th day of the media blitz. Are you okay? I saw the news. I'm fine. It's all lies. Harper was in her apartment. Curtains drawn. Phone on silent except for a handful of numbers she'd whitelisted. Evelyn's trying to discredit me. It's working. Thomas's voice was heavy. I got a visit this morning from 2 men in suits. They offered me $50,000 to sign a statement saying I'd been pressuring you for money, trying to extort the family. Harper's blood went cold. What did you say? I told them to get the hell off my property. There was a pause. But Harper, maybe we should stop. I don't want you to lose everything because of me. You didn't do this. She did. Harper pressed her palm against her forehead. I'm not giving up. She's too powerful. Then I'll become more powerful. But even as she said it, Harper felt the walls closing in. She'd always believed money and determination could solve any problem. Now she was learning. There were some problems that went deeper than either. That afternoon, Thomas called again. His voice was shaking. Someone tried to run me off the road this morning. Black SUV, no plates, forced me into a ditch. Are you hurt? I'm okay. Truck's banged up, but drivable. He took a shaky breath. This was a warning, wasn't it? Harper closed her eyes. I'm so sorry. Don't apologize, just be careful. If they're willing to... He stopped. Just be careful. Harper started driving to the estate property every few days. Always at different times, always taking different roads. She and Thomas would walk through the gardens together, and he'd tell her stories about Faith and Mia, about the life she'd lost. Faith loved to garden, Thomas said one afternoon, kneeling beside a rose bush. She said flowers were proof that beautiful things could grow anywhere if you gave them enough love and attention. Harper watched him work, his weathered hands gentle with the plants. Tell me about the day I was born. Thomas smiled, that rare expression that made his whole face light up. August 14th, 1996. It was a Tuesday, early morning. Faith went into labor around 3 a.m. I drove like a madman to the hospital. We only had the one truck, and it barely ran. He laughed softly. You came into the world screaming, loudest baby the nurses had ever heard. They said. Faith joked that you were already demanding attention. Was she happy? Harper asked quietly. When I was born? She cried. Thomas said, happy tears. She held you and kept saying, look what we made, Tommy. Look at our perfect girl. His voice got thick. You were perfect. You were everything. Harper felt tears sliding down her cheeks. I wish I remembered her. She's in you, Thomas said. Your stubbornness. Your fire. That's all, Faith. She never backed down from anything, even when she should have. He paused. Especially when she should have. They sat together in comfortable silence, watching the sun move across the garden. For brief moments like this, Harper could almost forget about Evelyn's threats and the media circus and the impossible task ahead of them. Almost. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Back off, or Thomas won't survive the next accident. Harper showed it to Thomas. His face went pale, but he straightened his shoulders. I'm not going anywhere. Yes, you are. Harper's mind was already working, calculating risks and options. Pack a bag. I'm getting you somewhere safe. Harper, I'm not arguing about this. She stood up, pulling out her phone to call Marcus Webb. She's already tried once. Next time she might succeed. Thomas reluctantly agreed. Within 2 hours, he was checked into a small hotel, 3 counties away, paid for in cash under a false name. Harper drove back to her apartment feeling like she was losing a war. She didn't know how to fight. Every move she made, Evelyn countered. Every attorney she hired got bought off or scared off. Every witness disappeared or changed their story. She sat in her car in the parking garage, staring at her reflection in the rearview mirror. She looked exhausted, defeated. Then her phone rang. Raymond Langford's name appeared on the screen. Harper almost didn't answer, but something made her press accept. Harper. Raymond's voice sounded strained. We need to talk. It's about your mother. Which one? The bitterness in her voice was sharp enough to cut. Evelyn, Raymond said quietly. I know what she did, and I can help you prove it. Harper met Raymond at a diner 40 minutes outside Asheville. It was the kind of place with checkered floors and a waitress who called everyone Han. Not the sort of establishment Raymond Langford typically frequented, which was probably the point. He was already in a corner booth when she arrived, looking uncomfortable in khakis and a plain polo shirt. Raymond usually wore custom suits and Italian leather shoes. Seeing him dressed like a regular suburban dad was almost surreal. Harper slid into the seat across from him without greeting. Raymond looked older than she remembered, gray at the temples, lines around his eyes. He'd always seemed distant, but solid, like a statue you could admire but never touch. Now he just looked tired. Thank you for coming, he said. You said you could help me prove what Evelyn did. Harper kept her voice flat, unemotional. So prove it. Raymond winced. I deserve that. You deserve a lot worse than that. Harper leaned back against the cracked vinyl booth. You raised me for 25 years, and you never once thought to question where I came from. I questioned. Raymond's hands wrapped around his coffee mug. In the beginning, when Evelyn suddenly came home with a 4-year-old girl and announced we were parents now. And she told me it was a private adoption, said she'd been working with an agency that specialized in placing children from difficult situations. She had paperwork, At least, she showed me paperwork. I didn't look too closely. He stared into his coffee. I wanted to believe her. We'd tried for so long to have a child. When you appeared, it felt like a miracle. A miracle, Harper repeated bitterly. Is that what we're calling kidnapping now? Raymond looked up, and Harper saw something in his eyes she'd never seen before. Guilt so heavy it seemed to weigh down his entire body. I should have asked more questions. Should have insisted on meeting the agency, talking to social workers, seeing official documentation. But Evelyn kept saying everything was handled, everything was legal, and he trailed off. I wanted a daughter so badly that I let myself be blind. So you knew something was wrong. I suspected something was off, Raymond corrected. But I told myself I was being paranoid. Evelyn had always been the strong one, the decisive one. I trusted her judgment. The waitress came by to refill Raymond's coffee and take Harper's order. Harper asked for black coffee. She had no intention of drinking. When they were alone again, Harper leaned forward. What changed? Why are you coming to me now? Raymond pulled out his phone and placed it on the table between them. 2 weeks ago, I overheard Evelyn on a call with her attorney. She was discussing strategy for dealing with you. How to discredit you publicly, tie you up in legal battles, maybe have you declared mentally incompetent so she could maintain control of your assets. Harper's jaw clenched. That sounds like her. But it was something else she said that made me... Raymond took a shaky breath. She told her attorney that she'd dealt with threats to the family before and knew exactly how to handle them, that she'd removed obstacles in the past and wasn't afraid to do it again. She was talking about faith. I realized that later. Raymond looked sick. In the moment, I just felt this cold certainty that I'd been living with a stranger for 30 years, that the woman I married was capable of. He couldn't finish the sentence. Harper waited. She wasn't going to make this easier for him. I started digging through old files. Raymond continued. Things Evelyn kept in her private office. She didn't know I had the safe combination. I'd figured it out years ago but never used it. I found documents, records, things that prove what she did. Harper's heart started beating faster. What kind of documents? Raymond glanced around the diner, then pulled a manila envelope from the bag beside him. He slid it across the table. Harper opened it with shaking hands. Inside were photocopies of various papers, bank statements, handwritten notes, receipts. The first document was a bank transfer from March 18th, 2000. Evelyn had wired $50,000 to someone named Vincent Marks with the notation "services rendered." Who's Vincent Marks? Harper asked. Private investigator, or at least that's what he called himself. Raymond's voice was quiet. The kind who doesn't ask questions if you pay him enough. Harper kept reading. There were notes in Evelyn's handwriting, neat, precise, terrifying in their casualness. March 15th, located suitable subject, mother resistant, will require alternative approach. March 16th V, will handle collection, bonus for discretion regarding mother. March 18th, transfer complete, subject acquired, documentation in progress. Harper felt bile rise in her throat. Subject, like she'd been a piece of property to be acquired. There's more, Raymond said softly. The next document was a receipt from a document forger in Atlanta, $20,000 for a complete identity package. Birth certificate, medical records, even a fake adoption decree. Then there were phone records showing multiple calls between Evelyn and Vincent Marks in the weeks following March 15th, 2000. Where's Marks now? Harper asked. Dead. Car accident in 2003. Raymond's expression was grim. Convenient, isn't it? Jesus. Harper spread the documents across the table. This is evidence, real evidence. It's a start, Raymond agreed. But it's not the smoking gun. A good attorney could argue the documents are out of context or forged. We need something more concrete. Harper looked at him. You said you overheard Evelyn on the phone. Did you record it? No. She was in her office with the door closed. I only caught pieces through the wall. Raymond hesitated. But I know someone who might help us get a recording. Who? Gerard Hutchins. He worked as Evelyn's personal assistant for 15 years. She fired him 6 months ago. Some dispute about him questioning one of her decisions. He was angry enough when he left that he might be willing to cooperate. Harper pulled out her phone. Give me his number. Harper, wait. Raymond grabbed her wrist. If we do this, if we really go after Evelyn, there's no going back. She'll fight dirty. She'll try to destroy both of us. She's already trying to destroy me. Harper pulled her hand away. At least this way I'm fighting back. Raymond studied her face for a long moment. You look like your mother, you know, Faith. I saw pictures in the missing persons case file when I was doing research. You have her eyes. Harper felt something twist in her chest. You looked up the case. After I found those documents, I needed to know what really happened, what Evelyn had taken from you. Raymond's voice cracked. I'm sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything. But I'm sorry for not protecting you, for not seeing what was right in front of me. Harper wanted to stay angry, wanted to hold on to the rage that had been fueling her for days. But looking at Raymond now, broken and guilty, and clearly devastated, she found her anger softening slightly. Help me prove it, she said. Help me make sure she pays for what she did. That's how you make this right. Raymond nodded. I will. I'll give you everything I have. Testify if needed. Whatever it takes. He wrote down Gerard Hutchins's contact information on a napkin and slid it across the table. There's one more thing, Raymond said. Evelyn keeps a personal safe in the master bedroom, different from the office safe. I've never been able to open it, but I know it's where she keeps her most sensitive documents. If there's proof of what happened to Faith, it'll be in there. Can you get the combination? No, but I can get you into the house when she's not there. Raymond met her eyes. She has a board meeting in Charlotte next Thursday. She'll be gone all day. Harper felt a plan forming. Dangerous. Possibly illegal. But what choice did she have? Set it up, she said. Raymond nodded and stood to leave. At the last moment, he paused and looked back at her. For what it's worth, he said quietly, you were a wonderful daughter, even if I didn't deserve you. He left before Harper could respond. She sat alone in the booth, staring at the documents spread across the table. Evidence. Finally. It wasn't enough yet, but it was something. Her phone buzzed. A text from Thomas. I'm okay. Bored, but okay. Any progress? Harper typed back, getting there. Stay put. She gathered the documents, paid for the coffee neither of them had drunk, and walked out into the parking lot. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and red. 1 week until she could search Evelyn's safe. 1 week to find Gerard Hutchins and convince him to cooperate. 1 week to build a case strong enough to bring down the woman who'd stolen her life. Harper got in her car and started the engine. The war wasn't over, but for the first time in days, she felt like maybe, just maybe, she had a fighting chance. Gerard Hutchins lived in a modest apartment in downtown Asheville. The kind of building with a creaky elevator and mailboxes that didn't quite close properly. Harper found his name on the directory and pressed the buzzer. Yeah. The voice through the intercom was cautious. Mr. Hutchins, my name is Harper Langford. I'd like to talk to you about Evelyn Cross. Silence then. Go away. Please, just 5 minutes. Raymond gave me your contact information. Another pause. Raymond Langford sent you. Yes, it's about Evelyn, about what she's done. The buzzer sounded. Unlocking the door, Harper took the stairs to the 3rd floor and found Hutchins waiting in his doorway. He was in his early 60s, thin and wiry, with sharp eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. You've got your 5 minutes, he said, not moving to let her in. Talk. Harper glanced at the hallway. Can we do this inside? Hutchins considered, then stepped aside. The apartment was small but neat. Books lined every wall, and classical music played softly from a speaker somewhere. I know what Evelyn did, Harper said once they were seated in his cramped living room. I know she kidnapped me 25 years ago, murdered my mother, and I need help proving it. Hutchins's expression didn't change. Why should I help you? Because she destroyed your career. Because you know what kind of person she is. Harper leaned forward. Because it's the right thing to do. The right thing. Hutchins laughed bitterly. I spent 15 years doing everything that woman asked. Covering for her, lying for her, cleaning up her messes. And when I finally questioned one of her decisions, one time, she fired me and blacklisted me from every decent job in this city, then helped me take her down. Hutchins studied her for a long moment. What do you need? A recording. I need her to confess on tape. Good luck with that. Evelyn's too smart to. She already confessed to me once. Harper interrupted. In private, she was confident I couldn't do anything about it. If I can get her alone again. Get her talking. She pulled out her phone. I just need it recorded this time. Hutchins shook his head. Even if you manage to record her, North Carolina is a two-party consent state. Any recording made without both parties' knowledge is inadmissible in court. Harper felt her hope deflating. So it's useless. In court, yes, but not in the court of public opinion. Hutchins stood and walked to a bookshelf, pulling out a thin manila folder. When Evelyn fired me, I took a few insurance policies with me. Things she'd want kept quiet. He opened the folder and spread documents across the coffee table. Harper leaned in to look. Financial records showing payments to various consultants who specialize in making problems disappear. Emails discussing bribes to city officials. Photos of meetings with people who definitely aren't on any legitimate business roster. Why didn't you use these before? Harper asked. Because I'm not stupid. Evelyn would destroy me if I went public. She's got resources I can't match. Hutchins looked at Harper. But you can match them, your family. You have standing. And more importantly, you have a story people will care about. Harper's mind was racing. What if we combine everything? Your documents, the recordings, the evidence Raymond gave me. Then you might have something strong enough to force the DA's hand, or at least strong enough to destroy her reputation so badly she can't recover. Hutchins sat back down. What's your plan? I need to get Evelyn alone and on record admitting what she did. Then I need to get into her personal safe. There's evidence inside that Raymond thinks will prove everything. The bedroom safe. Hutchins nodded. I tried to access it once when she asked me to retrieve documents from her office safe. Completely different combination. She guards it like Fort Knox. Can you open it? No, but I know someone who can. Hutchins pulled out his phone. Danny Reeves, locksmith. He's helped me with some sensitive situations in the past. 3 days later, Harper had everything in place. Danny Reeves had agreed to help. For $20,000 in cash and immunity from any potential legal consequences, Marcus Webb had provided Harper with a high-quality recording device disguised as a designer watch, and Gerard Hutchins had given her copies of every damaging document he had on Evelyn. Now she just needed to get Evelyn talking. Harper showed up at the Langford Estate on Wednesday evening, the night before Evelyn's Charlotte board meeting. She knew Evelyn would be home, preparing for the next day. The housekeeper let her in. Harper found Evelyn in her office, reviewing presentation materials on her laptop. Harper. Evelyn looked up with barely concealed irritation. I thought we'd said everything we needed to say. I want to make a deal, Harper said, closing the office door behind her. Evelyn's eyebrow arched. Oh, I'll drop everything. Stop investigating. Stop asking questions. Stop making noise. I'll publicly state that I was going through a difficult time and said things I didn't mean. Harper kept her voice steady, trying to channel the cold calculation Evelyn respected. In exchange, you leave Thomas alone. No more threats, no more accidents. He lives out his life in peace. Evelyn leaned back in her chair, studying Harper with those calculating eyes. That's quite a concession. I'm tired. Harper let exhaustion creep into her voice. It wasn't hard, given how little she'd slept lately. You were right. I've spent 29 years being Harper Langford. That's who I am. Fighting you is destroying everything I've built. Sensible? Evelyn's smile was thin, though I'm surprised you gave up so easily. What choice do I have? Harper spread her hands. You control everything. The lawyers, the media, the witnesses. I can't win. No, you can't. Evelyn closed her laptop. But I appreciate you finally recognizing that fact. It shows maturity. Harper moved closer, perching on the edge of Evelyn's desk. Can I ask you something? Off the record? If you must. Why me? Out of all the children you could have taken, why me, a Mercer? Evelyn considered the question. You were perfect, the right age, healthy, intelligent, and your mother was nobody. No resources, no connections. It was a clean acquisition. And Faith, what happened to her? I told you she was removed. Evelyn's tone was matter of fact. Vincent Marks handled it. I never asked for details. Better not to know, really. Harper's heart was pounding. But she kept her expression neutral. You paid him $50,000. $50,000 for the collection. $20,000 for the documentation. Another $10,000 for cleanup. Evelyn ticked off the numbers like she was discussing a real estate transaction. Vincent was expensive but thorough, worth every penny. And when he died 3 years later, Evelyn's smile didn't reach her eyes. Unfortunate accident. Though it did close a loose end, Vincent wasn't the type to stay quiet forever. There it was. Not quite a confession to murder, but close enough. Harper's recording device was capturing every word. "You've thought of everything," Harper said. "I always do." Evelyn stood, moving to pour herself a drink from the bar cart. "So, do we have a deal? You disappear quietly, and Thomas gets to live out his remaining years in peace." "One more question," Harper said. "Do you ever regret it? Any of it?" Evelyn turned, glass in hand, and looked at Harper with something almost like pity. "Regret implies I did something wrong. I gave you a life of privilege and opportunity. I made you into someone important. Why would I regret that? Because you destroyed a family. I created a family," Evelyn corrected. "And you turned out better than I could have hoped. Smart, ambitious, ruthless when necessary. You're exactly what I wanted you to be." Harper stood. "That's what you think. That's what I know." Evelyn raised her glass. "So, do we have a deal or not?" Harper looked at this woman, this monster who'd stolen her life and felt no remorse whatsoever, who saw people as assets to be acquired and obstacles to be removed. "No deal," Harper said quietly. Evelyn's expression hardened. "Excuse me. I said no deal." Harper walked toward the door. "You're going to pay for what you did. To me, to Faith, to Thomas. All of it." "With what evidence?" Evelyn's voice was sharp now, dangerous. "We've been over this, Harper. You have nothing." Harper paused at the door and looked back. "I have enough." She walked out before Evelyn could respond, her heart hammering against her ribs. The recording device was heavy on her wrist, its weight both comforting and terrifying. Outside, Marcus Webb was waiting in his car. Harper climbed into the passenger seat and handed him the watch. "Got it?" she asked. Marcus plugged the device into his laptop and played back the audio. Evelyn's voice came through crisp and clear. "Vincent Marks handled it. 50,000 for the collection. Cleanup, unfortunate accident. Closed a loose end. Holy hell," Marcus breathed. "This is admissible." "No, but it doesn't need to be." Harper pulled out her phone. "We're not taking this to court. We're taking it to the people. Tomorrow, while Evelyn was in Charlotte, Harper would break into that safe and find whatever final evidence was hidden inside, and then she'd end this." Harper didn't break into Evelyn's safe. She didn't need to. Instead, she called a press conference. Raymond had been horrified when she told him the plan. "Harper, you can't just... This needs to go through proper channels, the police, Those channels are controlled by Evelyn." Harper cut him off. "Every lawyer I've hired gets bought off. Every official I talk to suddenly has a conflict of interest. The system is rigged, so I'm going around it." She rented out a conference room at the Asheville Hilton and sent invitations to every major media outlet in North Carolina. Local news, national networks, newspapers, online journalists, everyone. The subject line was simple: Langford heiress to address kidnapping claims. The room was packed when Harper arrived Thursday afternoon. Cameras lined the back wall. Reporters filled every seat. She could see the speculation in their eyes. Was this another breakdown? More erratic behavior from the troubled heiress? Harper walked to the podium with Raymond on one side and Thomas on the other. She'd insisted Thomas be there, despite his discomfort with crowds and cameras. He needed to be seen, real, present. Gerard Hutchins sat in the front row, a thick folder of documents on his lap. Marcus Webb stood near the door, arms crossed, ready to handle security if things got heated. Harper adjusted the microphone and looked out at the sea of faces. "My name is Harper Langford," she began. "But that's not the name I was born with 25 years ago. I was Amaya Mercer, a 4-year-old girl from Silver Creek, Colorado, and I was kidnapped by the woman who raised me as her daughter." The room erupted in murmurs. Cameras flashed. Harper waited for the noise to die down before continuing. "I know how this sounds. I know what the media has been saying about me. That I'm unstable, having a breakdown, making wild accusations. But I have proof. And today, I'm going to show you exactly what Evelyn Cross Langford did. She nodded to Marcus, who started distributing packets to the journalists. Inside were copies of everything: the DNA test results, the bank transfers, the notes in Evelyn's handwriting, Gerard's documents, the missing persons report from 2000. On March 15, 2000, my mother, Faith Mercer, took me to the market in Silver Creek. We never came home, my father. Harper gestured to Thomas. Filed a missing persons report. The police searched for months but found nothing. The case went cold. Thomas looked like he wanted to disappear, but he stayed put, his weathered face stoic under the camera lights. 7 months later, Evelyn Cross appeared in Asheville with a 4-year-old daughter she claimed to have adopted through private channels. Except there are no adoption records, no agency, no legal documentation. Because I wasn't adopted. I was stolen. A reporter near the front raised her hand. Ms. Langford, these are serious allegations. Why not take this to law enforcement? I tried, Harper said flatly, but Evelyn has spent 25 years covering her tracks. Witnesses disappeared, documents were destroyed. The people she paid to help her are dead or scared into silence. She paused. The legal system moves slowly, and in the meantime, Evelyn has been threatening the man who was my biological father. She described the attempts to buy Thomas off, the car that ran him off the road, the threatening messages. With each revelation, she could see the reporter's expressions shifting from skepticism to interest to outright shock. I have one more piece of evidence, Harper said. She nodded to Marcus again, who connected his laptop to the room's sound system. This is a recording from 3 days ago. I confronted Evelyn about what she did. North Carolina is a 2-party consent state, which means this recording isn't admissible in criminal court, but you can still hear it. You can judge for yourselves. She pressed play. Evelyn's voice filled the room, cold and matter-of-fact. You were perfect, the right age, healthy, intelligent, and your mother was nobody. No resources, no connections. It was a clean acquisition. She was removed. Vincent Marks handled it. I never asked for details. $50,000 for the collection, $20,000 for the documentation, another $10,000 for cleanup. Vincent wasn't the type to stay quiet forever. Unfortunate accident, though it did close a loose end. The silence in the room when the recording ended was absolute. Harper could practically hear people's minds working, processing what they'd just heard. Then the questions came in a flood. Where is Evelyn Cross now? Has she been arrested? Mr. Mercer, what do you have to say about finding your daughter after 25 years? Harper held up her hand. Evelyn is currently in Charlotte at a board meeting. She doesn't know about this press conference. As for arrests, that's up to law enforcement now. But I'm hoping that with this evidence made public, they won't have a choice but to investigate. She looked directly into the nearest camera. I'm done letting powerful people hide behind their money and connections. What happened to me, what happened to my mother, can't be undone, but it can be exposed. And Evelyn Cross Langford can be held accountable. A reporter stood up. Ms. Langford, what about your role in the Langford business empire? Are you stepping down? I'm legally changing my name back to Mia Mercer, Harper said. As for the business holdings I inherited through the Langford family, I'm setting up a foundation. All proceeds will go to organizations that help reunite families separated by kidnapping and trafficking. Thomas looked at her in surprise. Harper gave him a small smile. They hadn't discussed that part yet. One last thing, Harper said. She pulled out a photograph, the one from Thomas's cottage, the little girl with the embroidered dress and blue teddy bear. This is me at 4 years old. This is who I was before Evelyn took me. I want everyone to see this child, and remember that behind every missing persons case is a real person, a real family, real grief that doesn't end just because time passes. She set the photo on the podium where the cameras could capture it. Thank you. The room exploded with shouted questions as Harper stepped away from the microphone. Security helped clear a path as she, Thomas, and Raymond made their way to a side exit. In the hallway, Thomas pulled her into a fierce hug. That was incredibly brave. Or incredibly stupid, Harper said, but she was shaking with adrenaline. God, I hope this works. Raymond's phone was already ringing. He looked at the screen and went pale. It's Evelyn. Don't answer, Harper said. He declined the call immediately. It rang again and again. She knows, Raymond said quietly. Harper's phone started buzzing too. Texts, calls, notifications flooding in. The story was spreading fast. Within minutes, it would be everywhere. Marcus appeared beside them. "You need to get somewhere safe. If Evelyn is as dangerous as you say." He was cut off by the sound of screeching tires outside. Through the window, Harper saw a black Mercedes pull up to the hotel entrance with enough force to make the valet jump back. Evelyn emerged from the driver's seat, her face twisted with rage. She was still in her business suit from the board meeting, but her hair was disheveled, and her carefully maintained composure had shattered completely. "She's here," Harper breathed. Evelyn stormed through the hotel doors, security guards scrambling to intercept her, but she was screaming loud enough for everyone to hear. "Where is she? Where is that ungrateful little bitch?" Harper watched from the hallway as Evelyn was surrounded by security, by journalists who'd spilled out of the conference room, by curious hotel guests. Cameras captured every second of her meltdown. "I gave her everything," Evelyn shrieked. "Everything, and this is how she repays me." A journalist thrust a microphone toward her. "Ms. Cross, is it true you kidnapped Harper Langford when she was 4 years old?" "I saved her. She was nobody." "Nothing." Evelyn's voice was raw, unhinged. That pathetic excuse for a father couldn't give her anything. "I gave her a life worth living." Another reporter. "Did you murder Faith Mercer?" "She was in the way." Evelyn spat before her attorney, who'd apparently just arrived, grabbed her arm and tried to pull her away. But the damage was done. Every camera had caught it. Every journalist had recorded it. Evelyn had just confessed on live television. Harper watched as police officers, who'd been called due to the disturbance, approached Evelyn, watched as the woman who'd raised her, controlled her, shaped her entire life, was read her Miranda rights and led away in handcuffs, still screaming about ingratitude and betrayal. It was over. Thomas took Harper's hand and squeezed it gently. "You did it." Harper leaned against her father, her real father, and finally let herself breathe. 3 months after Evelyn's arrest, Harper, Maya, stood in front of the Langford Estate, watching a construction crew hang a new sign over the entrance gates. The Faith Mercer Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Thomas stood beside her, hands in his pockets, eyes misty. "She would have loved this," he said quietly. "I wish I'd known her." Mia's voice was soft. She'd started using her birth name publicly a month ago. It still felt strange on her tongue, but getting more familiar each day. "You're a lot like her," Thomas said. "Stubborn, fierce." She never backed down from a fight either. The estate had been transformed. The mansion's rooms were being converted into offices for social workers, counselors, and investigators. The gardens would become a memorial space where families of missing children could find peace. The grounds would host support groups and community events. Mia had kept her promise. Every penny of the Langford inheritance she'd legally been entitled to was going into the foundation. It wasn't enough to erase what had happened, but it was something. A way to turn 25 years of lies into something that might actually help people. "Ms. Mercer," a young woman approached, clipboard in hand. She was one of the center's newly hired case managers. "The Hendersons are here for their appointment." "I'll be right there." Mia turned to Thomas. "You want to sit in on this one?" He shook his head. "This is your thing. I'm just here for moral support." He smiled. "And gardening advice. These new landscapers don't know a rose from a rhododendron." Mia laughed. A real laugh that came easier now than it had 3 months ago. She squeezed his arm and headed inside. The Hendersons were a couple in their 40s whose teenage daughter had vanished 2 years ago. Mia sat with them for an hour, listening to their story, reviewing the case file her investigators had compiled, explaining what resources the center could provide. By the time they left, Mrs. Henderson was crying, not from despair, but from relief that someone was finally taking them seriously. "Thank you," she whispered, gripping Mia's hands. "Thank you for not giving up on her." After they left, Mia sat alone in what had once been Evelyn's office. The expensive art was gone, replaced by photos of reunited families. The mahogany desk had been swapped for something simpler, more functional. Her phone buzzed. A text from Marcus Webb, district attorney, just announced formal charges. Murder 1 for Faith Mercer, kidnapping, conspiracy, obstruction of justice. Trial starts in 6 months. Maya stared at the message. Murder 1. They'd found enough evidence. Between the recording, Gerard's documents, and testimony from people who were finally willing to talk, now that Evelyn was behind bars, to charge her with Faith's death. Faith's body had never been found, probably never would be. Vincent Marks had done his job too well before his convenient accident in 2003. But witness testimony placed Faith at a meeting with Marks and Evelyn. Cell phone records showed their locations aligning. Bank records showed the payments. It was enough. Barely. But enough. Mia's phone buzzed again. This time it was Raymond. "Can we talk?" She hesitated, then typed back. "Coffee at the usual place. 1 hour." They met at the same diner where Raymond had first approached her months ago. He looked better than he had then. Cleaner, more present. He'd moved out of the Langford Estate, taken a leave of absence from the business, started seeing a therapist. "I'm testifying," he said after they ordered. "At Evelyn's trial. Prosecution asked me to." "Good," Mia said. "I wanted you to know before you heard it from the lawyers." Raymond wrapped his hands around his coffee mug. "They're going to ask me about everything. How much I knew, when I knew it, why I didn't act." "Why didn't you?" Mia asked, not accusingly. She was genuinely curious. Raymond was quiet for a long time. Fear, cowardice. "I told myself I was protecting you by not asking questions, that if I didn't know the truth, I couldn't be complicit." He laughed bitterly. "Turns out, ignorance isn't innocence." "No," Mia agreed. "It's not. I'm not asking for forgiveness," Raymond said. "I don't deserve it, but I want you to know that I'm sorry, and I'm going to spend whatever time I have left trying to make it right." Mia studied him. This man who'd raised her but never really known her, who'd played Tea Party with her when she was 6 and taught her to drive when she was 16, who'd been present but absent, loving but distant. "I don't hate you," she said finally. "I'm angry, I'm hurt, but I don't hate you. That's more than I deserve." Raymond's voice cracked slightly. "Probably," Mia said. But she reached across the table and briefly touched his hand. Not forgiveness, exactly, but maybe the beginning of something that could eventually become peace. Later that evening, Mia drove to the small house Thomas had rented in Asheville. He'd refused to live at the estate, even temporarily. Too many bad memories, he said. Too much Langford energy. She found him in his new garden, a modest plot behind the house where he was planting tomatoes and herbs. "Dinner?" she asked, holding up takeout bags. "Starving," he admitted, standing up and brushing dirt off his knees. They ate on his small porch, watching the sunset over the Blue Ridge Mountains. These had become Maya's favorite moments. Simple, quiet, with no agenda except being together. "I got a call from a journalist today," Thomas said, chewing thoughtfully. "Wants to write a book about our story, offered a pretty substantial advance." "What did you say?" "I said I'd think about it." He looked at her. "What do you think?" Mia considered. Part of her wanted to keep the story private, close to her chest, but another part knew that their experience could help other families, could shine light on how vulnerable people were to those with money and power. "I think we should do it," she said. "But we control the narrative. We approve every word. And any money goes to the foundation." Thomas smiled. "Deal." They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then Thomas said, "I've been thinking about Faith a lot lately, wondering what she'd think of all this. Tell me something about her I don't know." Mia said, "Something small." Thomas's face softened. She collected these little glass figurines, animals mostly, had them lined up on the kitchen windowsill. Every morning while she made breakfast, the sun would hit them just right and throw little rainbows across the room. He smiled at the memory. "You used to try to catch the rainbows in your hands. Said you were going to keep one in your pocket." Mia felt tears sting her eyes. She had a flash of something. Sunlight, colored light dancing across walls, laughter. Was it a real memory or just her mind filling in gaps? She wasn't sure anymore. "I'm sorry I don't remember more," she whispered. "Hey." Thomas turned to look at her. "You were 4 years old, and Evelyn did everything she could to erase who you were. The fact that you remember anything at all is a miracle. Do you think—" Mia stopped, unsure how to phrase the question. "Do you think I would have been happier if I'd grown up with you and Faith instead of with them?" Thomas was quiet for a long moment. I think you would have been different, he said finally. Not better or worse, just different. Less polished, maybe? More grounded. But Mia, Harper, whoever you are, you're remarkable. And that's not because of what the Langfords gave you. That's despite it. Mia leaned her head on his shoulder, the same way she'd started doing when she was 4 years old. Thomas put his arm around her, holding her the way he'd wanted to for 25 years. We're going to be okay, she said. Not a question. We're going to be better than okay, Thomas replied. We're going to be a family again. And for the first time since that September afternoon when she'd seen her photograph on a stranger's wall, Mia believed it. The past couldn't be changed. Faith was gone. Those lost years were gone. And the innocence of that 4-year-old girl was gone. But the future, that was theirs to build. 6 months after Evelyn's arrest, the Faith Mercer Center officially opened its doors. The ceremony was small, just staff, a few reporters, and the first families the center would be helping. Mia cut the ribbon alongside Thomas, both of them smiling despite the weight of everything the moment represented. The center was already making a difference. In its first month of operation, they'd helped reunite 3 families with missing children, 3 families who'd been searching for years, just like Thomas had, 3 happy endings in a world that desperately needed more of them. Mia spent her days meeting with families, coordinating with investigators, and building partnerships with law enforcement agencies across the country. It was exhausting work, but it felt right, in a way her business career never had. Thomas had become the center's unofficial groundskeeper. Though Maya insisted on paying him a proper salary, he spent his mornings tending the memorial garden, planting roses in memory of children still missing, white roses for hope, red roses for those who'd been found, and one special bed of pink roses, Faith's favorite color. In the center of it all, on a warm afternoon in late spring, Mia found Thomas kneeling by the pink roses, his hands working the soil with practiced ease. She'd come to tell him about the latest case. A 10-year-old boy found safe in Oregon after being missing for 2 years. That's 15, Thomas said when she finished. 15 families back together because of what you built here. What we built, Mia corrected. She sat on the bench beside the rose bed, breathing in the sweet scent. I couldn't have done any of this without you. You would have found a way. Thomas smiled at her. You're stubborn like that. They sat together in comfortable silence, something they'd gotten good at over the past months. The awkwardness of those first reunions had faded, replaced by something that felt natural, easy, like family. A young courier appeared on the garden path, holding a large manila envelope. Ms. Mercer, this just arrived for you. Marked urgent. Mia took the envelope with curiosity. No return address, just her name written in unfamiliar handwriting. She opened it carefully. Inside was a single letter, handwritten on yellowed paper that looked like it had been folded and unfolded many times over the years. My dearest Mia, if you're reading this, then somehow, impossibly, you found your way back to the truth. I've carried this letter with me for 25 years. Afraid to send it. Afraid not to. Afraid of so many things. Mia's hands began to shake. The handwriting was elegant but slightly unsteady, like it had been written by someone whose hands trembled. My name is Faith Mercer. I'm your mother, and I'm alive. The world tilted. Thomas. Mia's voice came out as a whisper. Thomas, look at this. He moved to her side, reading over her shoulder. She felt his whole body go rigid. I know what you must think, that I abandoned you, or worse, that I died that day in March 2000. The truth is far more complicated and painful than I can explain in a letter, but I need you to know that I never stopped loving you. Not for one single day. That afternoon at the Silver Creek Market, a woman approached me, Evelyn Cross. She was elegant, confident, and she offered me money for you. A ridiculous amount of money. I refused, of course. You were my daughter, my everything. No amount of money could ever change that. But Evelyn didn't take no for an answer. She had men waiting. They grabbed you right there in the parking lot while someone held me back. I screamed and fought, but there were too many of them. They put you in a car and drove away, and I could hear you crying for me, calling for your Papa Bear. That sound still haunts my dreams. Thomas made a choked sound. Mia gripped his hand, both of them trembling as they continued reading. They took me too. but to a different location. A man named Vincent Marks. He told me that I had two choices. I could die and you would be raised by Evelyn anyway, or I could disappear, fake my own death, never try to contact you or Tommy, never come back. He showed me a gun to make his point clear. I chose to live. I'm not proud of that choice. A better mother might have fought harder, might have found a way to save you, but I was terrified and alone and they had you. They had all the power. Vincent helped me create a new identity. I became Sarah Walsh, a widow from Tennessee. I moved to Florida, got a job as a seamstress under the table, lived small and quiet and invisible. Every day I wondered if I'd made the right choice. Every day I hated myself for not being brave enough to fight back. But I watched you from afar. I saw you in newspapers and magazines growing up in that mansion, getting degrees from fancy schools, becoming someone powerful and important. You looked healthy, you looked successful, and I told myself that maybe, in some twisted way, Evelyn had been right. Maybe you were better off with wealth and privilege than you would have been with a poor seamstress and a farmer. Maybe I was too weak to be your mother anyway. But then I saw the news, your press conference, your courage, the way you stood up to Evelyn and refused to let her win. And I realized my daughter wasn't better off. She was stolen, and I'd been too much of a coward to fight for her. I'm sorry, Mia. I'm so deeply, endlessly sorry. I should have found a way. I should have done more. I should have been braver. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it, but I needed you to know the truth. I needed you to know that I loved you every single day, that I never stopped being your mother, even when I couldn't be there. If you want to meet, I'll be at the Silver Creek Market on June 15th at 2:30 p.m. That's where we were taken from. That's where, if you're willing, we can start again. If you don't come, I'll understand. I'll disappear again, and you'll never hear from me. But I hope, God, I hope, that maybe you can find it in your heart to give your mother one more chance. All my love, always and forever, Faith. The letter ended with an address in Tampa, Florida, and a phone number. Mia couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Her mother was alive. Her mother had been alive this whole time, watching from a distance, too scared to reach out. It could be a trick, Thomas said, his voice rough with emotion. Someone pretending to be her, trying to take advantage. It's not a trick. Mia didn't know how she knew, but she did. The details in the letter, the pain in every word. It was real. She's alive, Thomas. Faith is alive. Thomas sank onto the bench, tears streaming down his weathered face. 25 years, he whispered. I thought she was dead. I mourned her, and she was alive. Mia looked at the date on the letter, June 15th. That was tomorrow. We have to go, she said. We have to go to Silver Creek. Thomas looked up at her, hope and fear warring in his eyes. What if she doesn't show? Then we'll deal with it. But what if she does? Mia gripped his hands. What if we can actually be a family again? All three of us. Thomas stood slowly, like a man in a dream. I don't know if I can do this. What if I'm angry? What if I can't forgive her for leaving? Then we figure it out together. Mia pulled him into a hug. But we do it together, as a family. The next day, Mia and Thomas drove to Silver Creek. The market looked exactly as it had in Thomas's memories. A small town gathering place with vendor stalls and people doing their weekly shopping. They arrived at 2:15 p.m. and waited by the entrance. At exactly 2:30, a woman approached. She was in her early 50s, with gray streaking through brown hair. She wore simple clothes and moved hesitantly, like she was afraid of being sent away. But her eyes were the same ones Mia saw in the mirror every morning. Tommy, the woman's voice broke. Mia. Thomas made a sound somewhere between a sob and a laugh. Faith. And then they were running toward each other, all three of them, meeting in the middle of that parking lot where everything had fallen apart 25 years ago. Faith pulled Mia into her arms, and for the first time in 25 years, Mia felt her mother's embrace. It was like coming home to a place she'd never known she'd lost. I'm sorry, Faith kept saying. I'm so sorry. You're here now, Mia whispered. That's what matters. Thomas wrapped his arms around both of them, and they stood there crying together, a family reunited against impossible odds. The past couldn't be changed. Those 25 lost years couldn't be recovered. But the future stretched out before them.